Didn't know we at work. Decided to hop on, chop it up with individuals. See what's the talk of the town. It's going down the word of the curve. You heard me. Just set this up real quick. Now, for those who are curious, I did drop a new video on this channel talking about Breaking Bad, right? And my thoughts on the whole TV series, right? If you guys are curious to scope that out. Oopsie. Now, an update on the G series. So, YouTube had gotten back at me, right? And apparently the changes I made wasn't enough, or, you know. See, the thing is about YouTube is that they really don't tell you what's wrong with the video, right? It's kind of a fucking guessing game, you know, and that's one thing that I find very irritating about how YouTube does things, right? Like they'll flag a video and you can challenge the claim, but they don't tell you exactly what's wrong with the video, right? Like they just tell you like what guideline it violated, but it doesn't tell you specifically like where at or like what changes need to be made. I made some changes, but apparently the changes weren't enough, right? So since I had already, you know, fought once, obviously the video is pretty much no good. So I'm gonna have to redo the video now. So I'm just gonna go back to the old way I would do the videos before, and just stick to that. Because the way I used to do them, YouTube didn't have a problem with that, right? So I'm just gonna, you know, do them the old format way. I was just trying to switch it up, you know what I mean? But I guess you don't like to switch them. So it is what it is. What's cracking like Mr. Pasa is definitely up in the casa for the raza. Are you going to react to Hoodstocks? Oh, about the comment that he had made? He had some female on there, no? Yeah, actually, I'm gonna do a video on it, right? But from a different angle than I think people are thinking about, right? Because one of my whole things with like stuff like this, saying he's racist. The comment did come off as like racial, right? But the highlighting point of what they're saying though is like them saying like, oh, you see how Mexicans get down, or trying to say that, oh, Mexicans need to, you know, handle their people. And it's like when somebody says something, they're only speaking in behalf of themselves and only representing themselves. Like, you know, you can only hold somebody to what they're saying, you know, based off of themselves, not their ethnicities. Like their ethnicities are not the fucking, you know, judge and execution, you know? You know what I mean? Imagine if people's own ethnicity has to hold them accountable for their actions, how would actually be, right? But that's not our jobs. You know, people got to hold themselves, and you got to, you know, can speak in behalf of themselves. They don't go out there and represent the mindset of a whole entire city of fucking millions of people. Like, where the hell does it say that? You get what I'm saying? I think that when people try to make it like a ethnicity issue when it should just be hold to a person, it's just ridiculous in itself. Oh, the homie Chemo Flix is definitely up in the building. Shout out to Chemo Flix. Go subscribe to his channel if you want the truth comes to this yard business. My boy's the ultimate warden. He got all the keys. Which other Aftermath artist left his label? Oh man, he had a bunch of Aftermath artists signed to him. Shit, there was a long list of them. Some of them people really like weren't familiar with, but he had some like big names on there, like King T, Crooked Eye, Slaughterhouse, all members of Slaughterhouse, all four of them. Who else? Some of the members of D12 at one point. What's that individual? Shay Shiest, Shady Mark or something like that, or Shady Mark or some shit. He had a lot of artists signed to him. The Game. Hi, hello there. What are your thoughts on the label? But why Eminem stayed? Because it was working for him. You know, because his music was getting prioritized out there, right? Because um, I guess Dr. Dre and Eminem had similar ways of working, and I think that they just vibed together well because both of them were isolated individuals. Like they really didn't want to be around people. They were into just music, and I guess he must have seen the same love of music that he has in Eminem, right? And not really liking to, how can I say, joke around and mess around all that much, right? It was strictly business. They were more business savvy, while other people, and I can attest to this. Like, there's some people, you're looking to record something, and they just want to be getting high and drinking and really just fucking around and wasting a lot of time, actually. You know what I mean? Then they get drunk or too buzzed, and then they can't really do it, and it's just like, it's a mess. Whatever plans you had to do that day to finish that day, they don't end up getting finished. And so I'll be getting arrested. So then that puts the place on hold as more and more, right? And it frustrates these individuals, like because they're like business savvy, right? And all these ranches being thrown just irritates them. 50 Cent in the game were an aftermath, but eventually left. Yeah, and even though 50 Cent was like good friends with them, and they made it like that, right? Like I said, they just didn't click all that well, right? That's the reason why he didn't stay with them, because they just had different ways about doing stuff. 50 Cent had more of the, wanted to throw that energy that Dr. Dre just didn't want no part of no more, like all the beefs and shit like that, right? I mean, he went his whole entire early career having to do that, and now another bringing more of that kind of attention, and he was just probably done with it too. Thus was crashing out. Pat yesterday on his live, he was talking tough, and I think gangster towards people like Cali, Legend Media, and exposed Flicks and Slugs. Who have called him out? I, I think he's having a difficult time accepting the reality. You know what I mean? Like, you can talk shit about these individuals all you want. You can call them out for fades, and the fades could even actually happen, and he can actually probably even beat them, like beat them up. That's still not gonna change the facts though of what it is, what they have said, and the truth behind it. The truth is not gonna change for nothing. Like, all of a sudden, just because, like, let's say you whoop their asses, doesn't mean that all of a sudden people are like, okay, yeah, whatever they were saying about him is false. Like, no, the truth does not change. You can be mad at it all you want, but the only one you have to be mad at is yourself. You know? You can't blame others for really speaking the truth. You don't like the truth? Well, that's on you. That's just, you got yourself to blame for that. How do you say I have in Spanish? Eminem was going around in the recording. Oh, he was goofing around in the recording sections? But see, that's the thing, though. That's Eminem's style, though. You get me? It's like, can you really consider it goofing around if that is his style? If you look at all his music, stuff like that, like his personal music, that kind of is what he's known for. Like, he's known for that comedy type of rap when it comes to his own projects. East Coast, West Coast. What are your thoughts on the rapper being in the studio with other rappers? It's difficult, right? Especially if you're not really familiar with other rappers, right, and how they behave, right? Like, just like anything in life, right? When you interact with somebody, you don't know, right? There, you guys could potentially click and create a strong, friendship and bond, right? And then there's other people that you meet that you're just not gonna feel, and you just really have no chemistry, and potentially you probably won't even like. That's how it is when you interact with people. There's a chance that you could, like and be cool with them, and then there's a chance that you can potentially probably, create some type of hatred or feud, you know, just because they rub you the wrong way. You know what I mean? You're just not gonna like everybody that you get introduced to. That's just the way it is. That's how life is. 50 Cent was a bully. No, but see, that was all strategy though. Like 50 Cent said it himself when he was interviewed, right? He said that he was doing that on purpose though. He was doing it because he said that he felt like that was the best way to get attention though. That was his best way to get his name out there and getting it, floating around. And to an extent it kind of worked, sort of. 50 still like that. 50 still likes to, go in on people like he's doing on Diddy. And he's very bitter too, because he holds grudges for a while. I be bringing up some old shit, right? And like, oh, that's why I don't like it because back in 1990, like, fuck. Dove got super upset after those two, and Dove's that Dove was dead weight when I don't know. Like the specifics on things, I don't know why people care for that. Dove's discounted media and now made a video. Oh, Dove's this Caddy Media, and now he's sending him praise with. I don't know. Like, you understand how the internet works and how if you're looking to create a brand or looking to get more views and subscribers and people on board on your boat, right? You know how PR works, right? So you can give all this humble talk and this deep dive into morals and ethics and stuff like that, right? Because you're trying to manipulate the audience to see you some type of way, right? That's the strategy. That in order for you to get their support, you gotta behave a certain way. But now when you start to drink, you now lose that sense that's regulating your inner behavior, right? Like your true feelings, what you really want to say, how you really want to speak, right? So then how you really feel ends up coming out, right? Man, fuck these fools, and if you support them, fuck you too, and you get what I mean? So that is your true feelings. This is how you truly feel, right? Because you don't have now that sense to regulate your true feelings, right? Compared to the other one where you're actually looking to manipulate. So it's false. It's not really how you come out. I actually had done several lives where I was kind of like tipsy and buzzing, off the alcohol, right? And I seen, when I went back and watched it, I could see that people were trying to get me to break character or get me to, crash out. But it's like, you can't, because I'm not putting a facade. Like, this is how I really behave. This is what I really think. And you can see it because in the comments, people were like, it's not working. And it's like, well, I'm not putting up a facade. That's why. But when you're putting up an act, then you get alcohol. You can see the change in personas on people. That's why I always say, bro, it's never good to do that. And there's no purpose to do that. There's no reason for it either. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, people gonna hear you out regardless. So just tell it how it is, bro. What the fuck? It ain't that serious. It's just the internet. I'm telling you, the only reason he wants to hold on to that is because he still wants to be seen as that. If not, he wouldn't care. Why would he care? You don't want to be considered a gangster. You don't want to be seen as a gangster. That's not who he is no more. You don't care. So why would he care and get so offended? When stuff like this is being said, it's because he still wants to be seen that way. You know what I mean? It's like if when you were younger, you were childish, right? But now you're mature and people are calling you mature and you're getting mad like, no. You still want to be considered childish? What do you think about Mike 10 Ice Cube headache falling out? And that's why there's no more West Side Connection. Yeah, I seen that. And a lot of it does seem like it's coming from Ice Cube's side of things, right? Like Ice Cube holds grudges. Uh, Ice Cube let himself get brainwashed or took the side of his brother-in-law and his wife over, his friendship, right? Like these guys were the ones that actually were creating the problem, but Ice Cube still took their side because, well, he wasn't gonna upset his wife and his brother-in-law. So in that sense, I would say that Ice Cube was the one that was in the wrong in that fallout between them. Like like this guy getting drunk and acting up, and then Mac 10 just not letting himself get talked down to like that and taking action. How are you gonna be mad at him for doing that as a man? You know what I mean? You should be mad at your brother-in-law for not being able to control his alcohol and acting stupid. But because that's his wife's brother, he sided with them instead. So you're siding with what was wrong, the behavior that was wrong. And that's just my point of view, though. That was also backtracking on it and his lies about doing a hit when legend in prison. See, and look, here's the thing, though. By him doing that, though, it's like, what does it matter? Who gives a fuck about the details, shit, bro? I thought you didn't care for none of that. See, that goes to show that he still cares about that persona being painted. So when he says that he doesn't care for that, he's already matured and has different views. It's a lie. The details of all that is irrelevant. The problem is that you're saying one thing right, but in all true reality, it's the opposite of that. And people can see that, and that's what they're calling you out on. Not so much the details of things, but your overall behavior in general. But he only focuses on the details because that's what he cares about, because the details, is showing about if he's considered gangster or not. Eminem is still beats it. Not that long ago, but it squash. Yeah, you see that happen a lot with, you know what I mean? Happy holidays to the from the south as well as upstate homies from. Hey, likewise, billionaire. Well, 50 Cent's not a billionaire. He filed for bankruptcy. Oh, you mean Dre? You can pray for someone, but not agree with them. Oh no, yeah. Like you know what? It's sad that you can't see it. Like I'll pray for you because truly you're lost. You're a lost individual. I get it from that sense, right? But when you're in the wrong and you're choosing to stuff like that, it just makes you look so delusional. Yeah, and a lot of people do play the religious thing to gain some type of sympathy, like, oh, there's a moral ground to him, or high card calling. Like, if you're gonna donate to charity and feed the homeless and all that, do it because that's what you want to do. Don't do it because that's how you want to paint yourself to look like. Like you're gonna do that, but then really not like the situation. Like, I can't believe I'm here amongst these dirty ass people. You know what I mean? Because that's truly the worst kind of individuals. I would respect more an individual that actually comes and be like, I'm not gonna feed the homeless because fuck them. I ain't trying to be around them bums and everything. I would respect that more than the individual that's at least pretending to like the situation. Just to it's a PR stunt, right? Because at least this individual, even though I don't like his views and what he's saying, at least he's being upfront about it. At least he's not hiding it. At least he's not, That's one thing I could at least give Donald Trump, right? That the fool's a fucking asshole, and at least he's not trying to paint himself a different way. What you see is what you get. Even though he thinks he's painting himself as a good individual, right? He's actually coming off across as the opposite. He think his honesty is not all that bad. Does needs to figure struggle. He's trying to people. Those keep on Christian. I don't think so. If he is trying to paint himself that way, then good luck. Gina was cool. Yeah, they had talent. They had talent. They definitely had talent. You know, Young Bug, Lloyd Banks definitely had skills. I think they were very underrated. Tony Yayo, not so much. You know, Tony Yayo's type of rapping was, it needed some work to it. He struggled to keep up with beats at times. Actually, a lot of times. It's like he would just go on and he almost forget that the music, you actually have to go with the flow of the beat. He kind of would just go on and just would be reading shit and didn't care about the rhythm of stuff. Getting caught up in other people's feelings. Was Wu-Tang the first group rappers? Oh, there was group rappers before. Yeah. No, yeah, there wasn't. They weren't the first, but they were legitly the best, like assembly of purist MCs. Like when it comes to like rap, like the concepts, like that type of rap, like where you actually have to give them thoughts. They come with metaphors and just the way they, you know, are rapping what they're trying to say. You know what I mean? You actually need to give it some thought to it and break down their symphonies compared to like other rappers who just it's kind of basic. There's nothing to break down. Does his leg tracking about how he told people about his status. He said multiple times he was active now. He was saying he never said anything about the status. No, see, but that's the thing though. It's not so much about saying like you're something, right? It's trying to paint yourself to look a certain way, right? Like the way like it's like this. It's saying like this. The truth is you build it up, right? Is you're no, but instead of you're gonna be like, oh, I'm already older. I'm just focused on me. But yeah, I don't associate with people that rat, that tell, that are no good. I don't fucking be with these fools that dropped out and are levas. So if somebody's watching you for the first time and is hearing this, they're gonna be like, okay, then this is somebody who stayed in good standings and somebody who never fell off or told or never debriefed, right? Because of how he's saying, right? Because he's calling out other people like other channels like this. Oh, like look at all these other channels. These fools are fucking no good snitches that dropped out. So you're hearing this for the first time, you're like, damn, this fool's a solid one. This fool's actually somebody who stayed in good standings. You know what I mean? And then you find out, oh, that it's actually the opposite. He's not in good standings, right? He didn't have to come out and say that he never said that, right? But he's trying to paint himself like that, right? So you're just as guilty, bro. Because people are calling you out, but then you're saying that you're not doing anything right. But when you're calling other people snitches and no good and dropouts, well, you're doing something there. And I always say, I feel like if he doesn't come and try to, like, people wouldn't have an issue with him if he'd never tried to come across like this, right? Like, you're gonna get mad when people call it out on you, but you have no problem seeing when you're calling it out on others. But the rappers came from a group of rappers. Yeah, a lot of the best rappers came out of groups of rappers, like NWA or Death Row. Doghouse. The trolls needs to stop trolling in the comments. It's not gonna work. Or like my old life. Diddy had the Diddy was a weirdo. Dubs also says he doesn't want to speak about the details about it when he went this way because there's other people involved in the story and way business. Yeah, it is nobody's business. He doesn't have to give the details. People are not even asking for the details. You know what I mean? People are not giving the details. We want to hear about your SNY time. No, bro. What I think what people want is him to admit, yeah, I went SNY. Yeah, I'm no good. I think that's what people want. I don't think people care about the specifics of shit. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, it has nothing to do with people, and I'm pretty sure people are smart enough and aware enough to know that that's none of their business or their concern. You know, I think their issue is with an individual not willing to accept what the reality is. You get me? Because if he was to actually, admit to what the truth is, what could people say about him? What could these trolls tell him? Nothing. He's already admitted. He's confessed. Not hiding anything. So what could they say? Nothing, right? So if you just embrace the truth, like what you're saying that you do, right? Like you don't want to be considered a gangster anymore. You're already older. You don't care for that kind of stuff. Then why are you arguing? And why are you upset? It's really that easy. It's not that hard. Little also said he was a Christian. Now he was just but see, Little Toro is actually different than when it comes to these other YouTube individuals. Little Toro has something mentally wrong with him. Like he's suffering from his, whatever issues he has. I don't know if it's schizophrenia, polarism, paranoid personality disorder, but he's suffering something mentally, where he actually needs to be on meds. So his whole thing is actually, mentally related, right? Like he actually has an excuse, right? His overall mental. But these individuals don't have anything mentally wrong with them, right? So what's their excuse? This individual really doesn't understand, what's and can't really grasp the situation, right? But these individuals are doing this intentionally. They're actually looking to work the audience. This individual just doesn't know what's happening, you know. You get what I'm saying? Like he's not trying to, like this individual's not trying to act gangster or down and all that because he's looking to impress the audience or he's chasing the clout. It's just that he's truly battling with his mental and he doesn't know what's happening. He can't separate reality from fiction. That's why and can't control his emotions. Because he's just everywhere. you know. Are you working with? Did something like that to like actually I'm saying. Yeah, and there's no loyalty and there's no trust, right? Like then you just can't really trust this individual if he's gonna side with what the person who's wrong did, right? It'll just be like, fuck that. Then truly this person's not somebody, cool to work with. Like if he just expects you for an individual just to walk all over you and you just accept it. Gaslighting, saying that his grandpa's missing screws when yeah, but see with him is like he's not really trying to deceive the people. With him is he really like what he's saying, he truly believes that that's what's happening when in reality it's something completely different, right? But what he's speaking is not because he's trying to the audience, it's because he truly believes that this is what's happening. You get what I mean? To be on his medication. With him, he's truly battling with his mind. Like his mind is his worst enemy. And sadly, most people who suffer from some type of mental, their mind will be their worst enemy, right? Because it's not like they're trying to like trick people and deceive people because that's in their nature, but more because that's what they really think is happening, even though it's not. It's a cold game. 50 Cent bounce back. Actually, I had seen that he was still like struggling. Was Jesus God? Well, Jesus was never a God though. I think people threw the God title on there, right? Like he was not a God, and truly I don't feel like he was trying to paint himself as a god. People painted him that way, right? Not that it's in one time himself about the time when he decided to roll it up. That said, he found out for a reason, but he doesn't want to go to details because of other people as well. Yeah, but no one's asking him for those details, though. No one's asking him, hey, bro, give us those details. People are just thinking about a liar because he's lying overall about the situation. They're not asking him for the details. I don't feel like unless like there's actually no reason for him to speak about anything, right? Unless he's only talking about one-sided story, right? Unless he's trying to paint himself, then it's like, well, then you got to tell. If you're gonna tell stories, and you better tell the whole story. Um, but it's not something like I said. If you're really gonna be going into these type of stories, then you're gonna have to talk about these stories, right? Because, like I said, because it's not as like you're trying to hide it, right? But if that's paint yourself, then it should all be. Or Dubs could be because his neighborhood is represents the W for West Side Bruta. Dubs. They throw out the W, and that's the hats that they wear are W hats for West Side Bruta, Santa Bruta. You get what I mean? Um, because if he's really trying to hide the whole, you know, um, being an SNY and stuff like that, I think it would be foolish for him to come and put that as his name, right? And trying to cover it up. It just wouldn't make any sense. You get what I mean? The more logical one would be that he chose that because that was the letter of the neighborhood he represented his whole life till he got to the dividing path. As he's still trying to paint himself as someone who was active and stuff like that, it would make more sense that it actually stood for that meaning. Because then it just wouldn't make any sense. No, I know it had already came after the SNY thing, but I'm saying like when he's coming onto YouTube, right, and creating this persona for himself, if he's looking to hide that, why would he add that on his name as the? You get what I mean? It would make no sense. Because if you look at individuals that have left whatever, they don't actually add that to any other titles unless there's somebody who embraces that. Because then it just wouldn't make any sense. Like if you're trying to paint a different narrative. There's been many gods, not just Greek gods, but you have gods even from like Odin, and you have even gods that were from the indigenous gods, right? So you had, I mean, civilization. I have the Egyptian gods as well. So I mean, there's been gods. People, mankind themselves have painted gods throughout its existence of higher beings. Everyone chooses to laugh at gods and their descriptions and stuff like that, but yet want people to believe their versions of theirs. Like you have so many different gods out here. It's just crazy. You know, the more likely thing is that people are just looking for higher beings, right? They're creating all of this narrative themselves. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my lunch break is over. We got to get back to it. It was good chopping it up with you guys, and we out.